The maid said she heard the typewriter at midnight, but the journalist who used it had already vanished 2 days before. The fan spun lazily in the heat of room 213 at Hotel del Sol, a colonial-era building that smelled of sea salt and old paper. Cigarette smoke hung in the air, trapped between yellowed curtains and cracked ceiling plaster. On the desk sat an old Olivetti typewriter, one key jammed, the last sentence still unfinished. "The ships come at midnight." The maid, Maria Alvarez, stopped mid-step when she saw it. The window was open. The breeze carried the distant echo of ship horns from the harbor. But what made her drop the bedsheet was the sound, one slow keystroke echoing from the typewriter, though no one was near it. 2 days earlier, Thomas Reeves, a 38-year-old investigative journalist from Chicago, had checked into Hotel del Sol under the name Mr. Taylor. He wore round glasses, linen shirts, and always carried a small black notebook. Locals said he was polite but distant, the kind of man who noticed everything and said little. He told Maria he was writing a book about import routes and Caribbean trade. But the bartender, Javier, had seen the same man meeting strangers on the pier at odd hours, exchanging envelopes. That night, when Thomas didn't show up for dinner, Maria went to clean his room. The bed was untouched, the fan still humming. His suitcase lay open, neatly arranged, except for one missing camera lens and a small torn photograph tucked under the pillow. The picture showed a woman and a little girl, smiling in front of a lighthouse. The corner of the photo was burned. By dawn, word reached Inspector Rafael Torres, a seasoned Cartagena police officer with tired eyes and a distrust of foreigners who asked too many questions. Torres climbed the narrow hotel stairs, the wooden floor creaking under his boots. "Senora Maria," he said, "when was the last time you saw him?" "2 nights ago." He asked about the harbor, about the cargo ships that come at midnight. Torres found the typewriter and frowned at the unfinished line. Beside it, an ashtray held 3 cigarettes, all American brand. But the window latch was broken from inside, and muddy footprints led to the balcony. Looking down, he saw only the empty courtyard, and the sound of waves hitting the wall below. The next morning, a local street photographer named Luis Correa came to the station. He carried an envelope wrapped in twine. "Inspector, someone left this in my studio door last night." Inside were 3 black and white photos. 1, a cargo ship marked La Esperanza. 2, 2 men loading wooden crates labeled coffee. 3, Thomas Reeves standing between them, looking straight at the camera. Torres narrowed his eyes. "Where was this taken?" "Near the San Felipe dock, but those men? They don't work for the port." That evening, Torres visited El Coral, a bar where foreign journalists often gathered. The place was smoky, loud with salsa music, filled with sailors and shadows. At the far end sat Isabella Duarte, a red-haired Colombian translator who'd been seen with Reeves days earlier. When Torres showed her the photograph, her eyes widened. Tom said he was following a shipment. He believed the crates weren't coffee, but weapons. "Whose weapons?" She hesitated, glancing toward the bartender. "He mentioned someone called El Cura, the priest. A man who blesses every deal with blood." Torres leaned forward. "And where is Tom now?" She whispered, "He said if anything happened, check room 213. He hid something under the floorboard." That night, Torres returned to the hotel. The power flickered as rain started pounding the tiled roof. He pried open a loose board under the desk. Inside was a film canister, sealed with tape. When he held it to the light, faint handwriting read, "For when the truth disappears." He sent it for development. The images that emerged the next morning made his stomach twist. Crates stacked in a church basement, armed men unloading boxes stamped with a foreign insignia, and in one frame, a priest blessing the cargo with holy water. The last photo was of Thomas Reeves, sitting at a table, hands tied, eyes terrified, with a newspaper dated 2 days before his disappearance. Torres recognized the church, Iglesia de San Martín, abandoned since a fire in 1978. That night, he and 2 officers drove there under heavy rain. The doors were chained. Inside, the smell of gasoline lingered. Candles burned near the altar, lighting the faces of 3 men. One of them, tall, pale, with a clerical collar, turned slowly. "El cura," Torres muttered. The priest smiled. "You shouldn't have come, Inspector. The truth is heavy, sometimes it sinks." A gunshot cracked through the church. Chaos erupted. 1 officer fell. Torres fired back, shattering a stained glass window. But by the time he reached the altar, the men were gone, leaving only blood trails leading to a tunnel beneath the floor. The tunnel led toward the harbor, humid and dark. Torres followed the sound of dripping water, stepping over crates half submerged in tidewater. The markings matched those from the photos, coffee export. He pried one open. Inside, layers of coffee beans covering military rifles wrapped in plastic. As he snapped photos for evidence, he heard a faint metallic clack, someone cocking a weapon behind him. A voice said, "Inspector Torres. I warned you." He turned slowly. It was Isabella, her red hair wet, her eyes full of fear and guilt. "They have my daughter," she whispered. "I had to bring them your photos." But before she could hand over the camera, a shot echoed. She gasped and fell, the bullet hitting the wall behind her. In the tunnel's shadows, El Cura appeared, holding a pistol and a rosary. Torres dove behind a crate as bullets tore through the air. Water splashed, echoes bouncing off the walls. The priest's laughter echoed, eerie, calm. When Torres' revolver clicked empty, he heard footsteps fade into the surf. 3 days later, fishermen near the Boca Grande inlet found a body tangled in seaweed, male, mid-30s, bound wrists, no face left to identify. In his pocket, a corroded hotel key tagged 213. The press called it a robbery. The U.S. consulate requested the file be closed. But Torres knew better. He returned to room 213 one last time. The typewriter sat where he'd left it. This time, he pressed one key. The ribbon struck and printed a letter, faint but visible. Then another. When he finished, the sentence read: "The ships come at midnight, carrying coffins marked as coffee." Months later, a young journalist named Clara Mendoza arrived from Bogota, saying she was writing an article about foreign reporters lost in Colombia. She met Torres in a seaside cafe. He looked older, quieter. "Inspector, do you believe Thomas Reeves was killed because of what he discovered?" Torres looked toward the ocean. "I believe truth travels slowly, but death always catches the faster one first." She smiled sadly and handed him a small envelope. "I found this in the National Archives. It was never filed. It's addressed to you." Inside was a faded photo, Reeves standing beside Torres at the port, smiling, unaware it was taken from a distance. On the back, one line was written. "If you're reading this, it means they didn't silence you." That night, Torres returned to Hotel del Sol. The new manager said the room had been unused since the American vanished. Torres entered. The air felt colder. He sat by the desk and opened his notebook. Then he heard it, the faint click of the typewriter key. Slowly, one letter at a time, it began to type on its own. He stepped closer. The ribbon moved. Words appeared. "I saw them. Tell the world." The window fluttered open. Outside, the harbor lights blinked like dying stars. Torres whispered, "I will." The next morning, room 213 was empty again, only the typewriter remained. But when the maid entered to clean, she noticed something new, a sheet of paper on the table, freshly typed, signed simply. T. Reeves. In Cartagena, the ships still come at midnight. Locals say you can hear a typewriter echo from the old hotel by the harbor. Some say it's the wind. Others say it's the truth, still trying to finish its last sentence.